Thank you for joining us and welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. Today we're going to be going over how to create this mirror effect and add it to one of your portrait photos. We upload content daily, so if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click on the subscribe button. If you enjoy the video, please like and share it. We'd greatly appreciate it. Let's get started. So the first thing we'll do, guys, is open up a new document, 1920 by 1080 pixels. Next, you'll fill in your background with black. So you have one layer with a solid black background. The next thing I'm going to do is bring up my portrait image, and there's the image we're going to be working with today. You can use this image if you'd like. There'll be a link in the description for download. But if you would like to use your own image, you should be able to work with the technique that we're offering you today. Next, I'll select my portrait. I'm going to just name this portrait here. I'm going to select this portrait layer, and I'm going to make a selection just outside of the eye. So I'm going to make sure I have something right outside of that and make my selection all the way up. Okay, that looks good right about there. Okay, now that I got my selection and I'm on my portrait layer, I'm going to right click and select layer via cut. So what we did was basically cut that selection out of the layer and put it on to a new layer. So you see, if I highlight my layer and make it visible, now the image looks complete. But if I hide my layer, you can see where the cut had happened. So what I'll do is control click on this new layer that we just created just to bring the selection back up. I'll highlight and select my portrait layer, and we're just going to continue the process all the way across. So with my arrow keys, I'm going to move my selection over. Okay, we're almost there, and I think that looks good right about there. So again, I'm going to right click. As long as I'm on my main portrait layer, I want to make a note also that I'm hiding the layer above, so that way I can see where to make a proper layer cut. So I'll select layer via cut again, and we cut our image out again. I want to make sure that I have the eyeball on a separate layer, because this is what will help with the effect, with the mirror effect, that the eyeball is on its own layer. So do not cut in the middle of the eyeball or cut part of the eyeball off. We want to make sure that the whole eyeball is on its own layer. Again, I'll hide this layer, and we're going to continue with our cuts. I'll control click on the layer above my main portrait layer to bring up the selection. And with my arrow key, I'm going to slide my selection over again. Okay, that looks good. Again, I'm not going to go into the eye right here. I'm just going to cut it out right here. Right click, layer via cut. Again, excuse me. Now you see what just happened here? Well, we need to always make sure, I'm going to press Control Z. We need to make certain that we are on our portrait layer before we make that layer cut. So I'm on my portrait layer, right click, layer via cut. And now we have the cut. So again, I'm going to control click on the next layer and continue on with the same process. And we should only have a few more cuts. Now I want the eyeball on its own layer, so I'm going to just slide this over a little bit there, and I'm going to right click, highlight my portrait layer, then right click on the document, layer via cut, hide that. Next, I'm going to continue on. Do not worry if you see anything here, like if you have any remainder, we can still work out without having this, make the image work without having this in there. We're going to end up trashing this portrait layer. So again, I'll control click on the layer above, got my selection, my portrait layer is highlighted, and with my arrow keys I'm sliding the selection over. That looks good right about there. Portrait layer highlighted, right click, layer via cut. I'll hide the layer above, continue on. We probably got 1 or 2 more layer cuts. So I'll control click on the layer above to bring up my selection. And the reason why we're control clicking on the layer above is because we want to keep the same size selection. From experience, I realized that it's really important to keep the same size selection throughout your cuts. So I'll right click, portrait layer highlighted, right click, layer via cut. I'll hide that one and we'll do one more. Control click the layer above, arrow key to slide my marquee tool over, and I think that'll work out well. And next, right click, portrait layer highlighted, layer via cut. Did I have my portrait layer highlighted? Let's see here. We did. Yes, we did. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we can trash this portrait layer. So I'll right click and delete layer. I'm gonna hide our black background for now, and we're gonna make the layer cuts visible again. And as you can see, when you bring the layer cuts back up, it makes a complete image here. Well, minus the portion that we skipped. If you have a full image, that's alright. If you have this portion cut out of your image, that's quite alright. We can still make the effect work. Okay, so now I'm gonna, with my move tool selected, highlight the very layer on the bottom above your background, and just while holding the shift key, drag it over to the right. We're gonna go all the way over to the right. Select the next layer, drag that one over also. Select the next layer, we're gonna drag that one, and now select the very top layer and drag that one over to the left, all the way to the left there. And make sure it's all the way over there. I'll select the next one, drag that over, and select the next one, drag that over. So we're going to want to make these even throughout. So what I'll do is work until I have a good amount of spacing between each layer cut. I'm control clicking on the area to bring up the layer as opposed to selecting my layers here. So I'm going to just drag that one over here, control click to select that layer, drag that one over there, and I think this looks fairly good, guys. Okay, the next thing I'll do is select all my layers. I'll select the bottom layer while holding the shift key, select the top layer, and we're going to press Control, Shift, Alt, and E to merge those layers onto its own new layer. So we still got all our layers here, and we just created a new layer up here. We're going to press Control J to duplicate that layer. I'm going to name the first merged copy, I'm going to name that Blur, because we're going to perform a Gaussian blur on this layer. And then the copy above that, I'll name that one Shadow, because we're going to lower the opacity on this layer. I'm going to take my blurred layer and I'm going to move it below my, or right above my background. That's what we should leave it, right above your background. We're going to take the shadow layer and place it below the blur layer. The next thing I'll do is move my blur layer with my move tool. I'll move it over to the right. so you get some type of alignment where you see the eye matches up with the eye here. So we're gonna have it just like that, and we're gonna be able to work with this. We can always readjust the position, but for now we're gonna leave it like this, and I'm gonna select filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and we want to blur that we still maintain some level of detail, but it's still you can notice the blur on it. So I have my radius set at 5.8. It might be different if you're working with a different image, but for now I think this is good. So I'll leave that at 5.8, select OK. Now we have that image blurred. Control click on this one because I think I may have moved that before the but that's quite alright. I'll black background take care of that. The next thing I'll do is select my shadow, and being that we move the blur layer over to the right, we're gonna move our shadow layer over to the left. So I got my shadow layer selected and move that over to the left, so you get something like that there. And I'm gonna lower my opacity to about 50%, but we're gonna see what works here. I'll highlight my background layer, and as you can see, the effect is taking place. There we go. So I think that looks good right about there. And to top it all off, guys, you pretty much have completed the effect, but to add some more depth to the photo, I'm gonna press Control, Shift, Alt, and E to again merge all the layers onto one layer here. Above this layer, I'll create a new layer, and with my brush tool and my foreground color set to black, I'll zoom out a bit. And I have a fairly large brush here. Mine is set at 800 points right now. So what I'll do is I'll just add a vignette around the image here. So I'll work my way around to kind of add that vignette, and we just kind of want to bring the focal point to the center. And as you can see, a vignette will help you do that. And there you go. So you've completed our mirror effect tutorial. If you're new to this channel, please be sure to click on the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. We would greatly appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future content that you would like us to upload, please let us know in the comments section below. Until next time.